There is a particular kind of grief that does not get a clean script. When a marriage ends, the loss is not just relational, it is the death of a future that was already being lived. The plans not yet executed. The anniversaries not yet reached. And unlike other losses, this one often comes wrapped in complications the community does not always know how to respond to. Especially in the church. Because Catholics know the teaching. Marriage is a sacrament. Indissoluble. A sign of Christ's unbreakable love for His church. And that teaching is true. It is also hard. It was meant to be hard. But here is something just as true, and just as important to say clearly: the same church that holds that hard teaching also teaches, with equal clarity, that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. If you are going through a divorce right now, or someone you love is, I want you to hear this plainly. You are not disqualified from God's mercy. You are not disqualified from the sacraments simply because your marriage ended. The shame you may feel walking into Mass, the awkwardness, the sense of being a visible exception, that is not what God is asking you to carry. The Church's teaching is hard. God's mercy is harder to exhaust. This prayer is for you. For whoever you're carrying through this. God is close in this. Even this. Let's pray. Father, I want to pray today for someone going through a divorce. It may be me. It may be someone I love, a friend, a sibling, a parent, my own child watching their marriage end in a way that breaks my heart for them as much as for the marriage itself. Whoever it is, I bring them to you today with the full weight of what this experience actually carries, the death of a future that was already being lived. The grief of a covenant that was meant to last and did not. The fracturing of a life that was built around the assumption of permanence. I know the Church's teaching on marriage is clear, and difficult, and has not changed. I am not bringing this prayer to argue with that teaching or to pretend it does not exist. The Church holds marriage as a sacrament, a covenant, indissoluble, a sign of Christ's own unbreakable love for His Church. That teaching is hard. It was meant to be hard, in the way that anything true and weighty is hard. But the teaching is not the whole of what I need to bring before you today. Because the same Church that teaches the indissolubility of marriage also teaches, with equal clarity and equal weight, that God is close to the brokenhearted. That He does not abandon the suffering. That His mercy reaches into every situation, however complicated, however painful, however far from the ideal it has fallen. God's mercy is harder to exhaust than the Church's teaching is to bear. I am bringing this person, myself or someone I love, into that mercy today. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34 verse 18. Lord, let me name what this experience actually involves, without minimizing it. Divorce is grief, and grief of a particular, complicated kind. Unlike the death of a spouse, which the community recognizes and rituals exist to honor, the death of a marriage often happens while the other person is still alive, still present in shared custody arrangements or shared friend groups or shared history that cannot simply be set aside. It is a grief that keeps encountering its own cause. Divorce is the death of a future that was already being lived. The wedding day held a vision of what the decades ahead would look like, and that vision, however partially or fully it had been realized, is now ending. The plans not yet executed. The anniversaries not yet reached. The version of growing old together that will not happen the way it was imagined. For those with children, divorce reshapes not only the spouse's lives but an entire family system, the holidays now divided, the home now two homes, the children navigating a loss that they did not cause and cannot fix, carrying their own grief in ways that are sometimes visible and sometimes hidden even from the parents who love them. And divorce often carries shame, particularly for Catholics, who may feel that this failure marks them in the eyes of their faith community in a way other struggles do not. The quiet withdrawal from parish life. The discomfort at Mass when the readings touch on marriage. The sense of being, somehow, a visible exception to a teaching that everyone around them seems to be living successfully. I name all of this honestly before you. Not to dwell in it, but because honest naming is the beginning of the healing that follows. Father, I want to receive today what is true about your mercy in this situation. You do not love this person less because their marriage has ended. Whatever combination of choices, circumstances, sin, and suffering led to this point, your love for them has not diminished by a single degree. The father who runs to meet the prodigal son does not first calculate whether the son's situation conforms to an ideal before deciding whether to run. He runs while the son is still a long way off. This person is not disqualified from your mercy. They are not disqualified from the sacraments by the simple fact of civil divorce. The Church's teaching on this point is often misunderstood, even by Catholics. Divorce itself, the civil legal action, does not separate a person from communion. It is remarriage outside the Church, without an annulment recognizing that the original marriage bond did not validly exist, that creates the more complicated situation the Church continues to address with both clarity and pastoral care. For the person who is simply divorced, grieving, navigating a painful transition, perhaps abandoned by a spouse who chose to leave, the Church's arms remain open. The sacraments remain available. The pews remain theirs to sit in without shame. Help this person to know that. To not let the complexity of canon law, which they may not even fully understand, become an additional weight of exclusion that the Church never intended to place on them. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11 verse 28. Lord, I bring before you the specific pain of this divorce. If this person was left, if the choice to end the marriage was not theirs, if they are grieving something they did not want to lose, comfort the particular wound of rejection. The questioning of their own worth that abandonment produces. The replaying of the marriage searching for what they could have done differently, even when the ending was not within their control to prevent. If this person made the choice to leave, whether because of abuse, betrayal, or a slow erosion of the marriage that became unsustainable, give them peace about a decision that may have been necessary and is still painful. Let them not carry guilt for protecting themselves or their children from genuine harm, while also giving them the humility to examine honestly whatever was theirs to examine. If there was betrayal, infidelity, deception, broken trust at the deepest level, heal the specific wound that betrayal leaves. The fractured ability to trust again. The anger that may take years to fully process. The grief that is tangled with rage in a way that makes healing more complicated than simple loss. If there are children, protect them specifically. Let the parents, even in their pain, find the grace to prioritize the children's well-being over their own justified anger. Let the children know they are loved by both parents, that the divorce is not their fault, that they did not cause this and cannot fix it and are not required to choose sides. Whatever the specific shape of this person's pain, you see it completely. Meet them in it. Father, for those for whom it is relevant, I pray about the process of seeking an annulment. Help this person to understand annulment correctly, not as Catholic divorce, not as a denial that something real existed, but as the Church's careful examination of whether the conditions necessary for a valid sacramental marriage were actually present at the time of the wedding. It is a process that can bring real healing, an opportunity for honest examination of what happened, sometimes a source of genuine understanding about patterns or wounds that contributed to the marriage's failure. If this person is considering this process, give them the courage to begin it, the patience to walk through what can be a slow and sometimes painful process of testimony and reflection, and the peace to accept whatever the Church's judgment ultimately is. And Lord, for the priests, deacons, and parish staff who will walk with this person through their grief, give them the wisdom of genuine pastoral accompaniment. Let them be ministers of mercy rather than enforcers of distance. Let the church this person encounters in their parish be the church of the Good Shepherd who leaves the 99 to find the one, not a community that quietly lets the divorced and struggling drift to the margins. Lord, beyond any canonical process, I pray for this person's actual healing. Heal the wound to their capacity to trust, whether trust in another person, trust in their own judgment, or trust in you. Divorce can shake faith in profound ways, the prayers for the marriage that were not answered the way they hoped, the questions about why a sacrament could fail, the difficulty reconciling the suffering with the goodness of God. Give them community. The isolation that often accompanies divorce, the couple friends who do not know how to navigate the new singleness, the awkwardness at parish events designed around families, the loneliness of an empty side of the bed, needs to be met by people who will show up. Send them friends who will not flinch from the complexity of their situation. Send them a parish that welcomes rather than quietly excludes. Give them hope for what comes next, not necessarily remarriage, which the Church's teaching navigates with its own careful pastoral consideration, but hope in the broader sense, hope that their life is not over, that joy remains available to them, that the wound, however real, does not have to be the final word on their story. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147 verse 3. Father, I close this prayer with the truth that matters most. You are close to the brokenhearted. Not distant from this person because their situation is complicated. Not withholding your presence until their canonical status is resolved. Close, now, in the middle of the grief, in the legal proceedings, in the divided holidays, in the long nights of processing what happened and what comes next. The Church's teaching on marriage is hard. It exists because marriage matters, because covenant matters, because the indissoluble union is meant to image something true and beautiful about Christ's love for His Church. But your mercy is harder still to exhaust. It reaches into every divorce, every annulment process, every grieving heart navigating the end of a marriage, not to excuse what went wrong, but to heal what is broken and to walk with the person through what comes next. God is close in this. Even this. Our Lady, who knew sorrow at the foot of the cross, pray for everyone walking through the end of a marriage today. Amen. May you know, really know, not just believe abstractly, that God has not stepped back from you because your marriage has ended. May the shame that sometimes accompanies divorce in Catholic communities lose its grip. May you find a parish, or rediscover your own, that welcomes you the way Christ welcomes the brokenhearted, without conditions, without distance, without making you feel like a visible exception to a rule everyone else seems to be keeping successfully. If you are walking through the annulment process, may it be a source of honest healing rather than additional burden. May the priests and ministers who walk with you reflect the mercy of the Good Shepherd. And may you find, in time, that this grief, real, complicated, not easily resolved, does not have the final word on your story. Healing is possible. Joy remains available. You are not disqualified from any of it. God is close in this. Even this. Our Lady, who knew sorrow, pray for everyone walking through divorce today. If these daily Catholic prayers are part of your life, support this channel through the PayPal link in the description. Every contribution helps keep a new prayer coming every single day for people in every kind of difficult season. Thank you if you feel led. New Catholic prayer on this channel every single day. Subscribe and turn on notifications. If this prayer names something you or someone you love is carrying, leave a comment. You don't have to share details. Just praying through this. Your honesty will encourage someone else reading who feels alone in this. Like this and share it quietly with someone going through a divorce. They need to know the Church's mercy is real, even when the teaching is hard. Thank you for praying with me. God is close in this. I'll see you tomorrow.